Sourdough. Before there was packaged yeast, every loaf on Earth rose the way sourdough still does, lifted by a living culture of wild yeast and bacteria caught from the air and the flour itself. It is the oldest form of leavened bread, baked in Egypt more than 4,000 years ago, long before anyone knew what a microbe was. A starter is nothing but flour and water left to ferment until it teems with wild yeast and lactic acid bacteria, the same family found in yogurt. Those bacteria are what set sourdough apart, producing the lactic and acetic acids that give it its tang and help it keep for days. The sharp flavor of San Francisco sourdough comes from one species named after the city, Fructolactobacillus sanfranciscensis, and some bakeries there have kept the same starter alive and bubbling since the gold rush. Commercial baker's yeast only pushed sourdough aside in the late 1800s, and its recent comeback owes as much to flavor as to the slower rise that makes the bread gentler on digestion. Baguette. France protects its national loaf by law. A 1993 decree defines the baguette des traditions françaises so strictly that it may contain only wheat flour, water, yeast, and salt, with no additives and no freezing allowed at any stage. Anything else cannot legally carry the name. The long, thin shape maximizes crust, and a proper baguette is meant to be bought and eaten the same day, which is why French bakeries still sell out by evening. By some counts, the French go through more than 10 billion of them a year. In 2022, the craftsmanship and culture of the baguette were added to the UNESCO list of intangible cultural heritage, putting a stick of bread alongside the world's great living traditions. The shape even carries its own origin legends, from loaves slim enough to slide down a soldier's trouser leg to an early labor law that barred bakers from working before 4 in the morning, pushing them toward a quicker rising design. Bagel. What separates a bagel from an ordinary bread roll happens before it ever reaches the oven. The shaped rings are boiled in water, often sweetened with malt or honey, which gelatinizes the surface starch and gives the bagel its shiny, chewy crust and dense interior. The bread traces back to the Jewish communities of Poland, with a written reference in Krakow as early as 1610, and it crossed the Atlantic with immigrants to New York. Two rival styles now define it. The New York bagel is large, soft, and boiled in plain or malted water, while the Montreal bagel is smaller, sweeter, boiled in honey water, and baked in a wood-fired oven. The whole was practical, letting vendors thread dozens onto rods or strings to display and carry them. In New York, the bagel became inseparable from cream cheese and cured salmon, a pairing that grew straight out of the city's Jewish delis. Pretzel. The deep brown, glossy skin of a real pretzel comes from a step that sounds alarming. Before baking, the dough is dipped in a bath of lye, the same caustic soda found in drain cleaner, which raises the surface to a high alkalinity so it browns fast and develops that distinct flavor. The heat of the oven then renders the lye completely harmless. The twisted shape has long been seen as a pair of arms folded in prayer, and one legend credits a medieval monk who gave the treats to children who had learned their prayers, calling them little rewards. Pretzels spread from the monasteries of Europe into German and Alsatian baking, where the soft Bavarian version is still a staple served beside beer. Naan. The pillowy, blistered flatbread served across South and Central Asia gets its character from the oven it is cooked in. A naan is slapped directly onto the searing clay wall of a tandoor, a vertical pit oven that can reach 900 degrees Fahrenheit, where it bakes and puffs in about a minute, charring into dark bubbles. Unlike the unleavened roti eaten alongside it, naan is leavened and usually enriched with yogurt or milk, which keeps it soft and tender. The word itself simply means bread in Persian. The same blistering heat also cooks the meats and other breads of the tandoor tradition. From Punjab across to Afghanistan and Central Asia, cooks brush the bread with butter or ghee as it comes off the wall, and modern kitchens turn out versions stuffed with garlic, cheese, or spiced potato. Pita. The pocket inside a pita is a trick of physics, not a folded seam. When the thin round of dough hits a blazing oven floor, the water in it flashes to steam so quickly that the bread balloons up and the top and bottom separate into two layers. As the bread cools and deflates, that gap stays behind as a hollow pocket. One of the oldest breads of the Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle East, pita is used as a wrap, a scoop, and an edible container all at once. Not every round puffs cleanly, and bakers prize the ones that inflate into a perfect dome on the oven floor. Split open, that pocket turns the bread into a pouch for falafel or shawarma, while flatter rounds are torn up to scoop hummus and other dips. Focaccia. Long before pizza existed, Romans were baking a flat, oil-rich bread they called panis focacciasis, meaning hearth bread, named for the focus, the fireplace at the center of the home. The modern Italian focaccia descends directly from it, especially in the coastal region of Liguria around Genoa. The dough is pressed flat, dimpled all over with the fingertips, then flooded with olive oil and scattered with coarse salt before baking. Those dimples are not decoration. They trap little pools of oil and keep the surface from doming, giving focaccia its crisp, golden, slightly chewy top. Many food historians treat it as the most direct ancestor of pizza. Regional versions run from the thin, oil-soaked focaccia of Genoa to the soft, tall focaccia of Bari in the south, some studded with olives, cherry tomatoes, or sweet onion. Pumpernickel. True German pumpernickel breaks almost every rule of baking. Instead of a hot, fast bake, the dense rye dough is sealed in a covered pan and cooked at a low temperature, around 250 degrees Fahrenheit, for anywhere from 16 to 24 hours. Its near-black color and deep, sweet flavor come entirely from that marathon in the oven, where the slow heat caramelizes the rye's own sugars in a long Maillard reaction, with no coloring or molasses added. Made from coarse whole rye meal and a sourdough starter, authentic Westphalian pumpernickel is so dense and moist that it keeps for weeks and is sliced thin. The name is an old and unflattering joke about what the heavy bread does to digestion. Outside Germany, the word gets slapped on almost any dark loaf, most of which take their color from added molasses or coffee rather than the long, slow bake. Tortilla. The corn tortilla rests on a piece of ancient chemistry that quietly saved millions of lives. Around 3,000 years ago, Mesoamerican cooks learned to soak and cook their corn in an alkaline solution of lime and water, a process called nixtamalization. It loosens the hulls and makes the dough workable, but its hidden gift is nutritional. The treatment unlocks the niacin, a B vitamin, that raw corn keeps chemically bound and unavailable. When corn later spread to Europe and the American South without this step, whole populations developed pellagra, a deadly niacin deficiency disease, while the peoples of Mexico, who nixtamalized their corn, never did. The treated corn is ground into masa, pressed into rounds, and seared on a flat griddle called a comal. Injera. The spongy, sour flatbread at the center of every Ethiopian and Eritrean meal is bread, plate, and utensil all at once. It is made from teff, a grain so small that a single seed is barely visible, ground into flour, and fermented into a batter for days until it turns tangy. Poured in a spiral onto a hot clay griddle, it cooks into a soft, pale sheet covered in tiny holes, the bubbles left by fermentation that earned them the name eyes. A great round of injera is laid down like a tablecloth. Stews and vegetables are spooned directly onto it, and diners tear off pieces to pinch up each bite, leaving no plate to wash at the end. Teff carries no gluten and is unusually high in iron, and because each grain is so tiny, a single handful can sow an entire field. Ciabatta. The crusty, open-holed loaf that fills sandwich counters around the world is not some ancient village recipe. It was invented in 1982 by an Italian baker named Arnaldo Cavalieri, who set out to create a national sandwich bread that could push back against the French baguette, then conquering Italy. He landed on a very wet, slack dough that bakes into a flat, irregular loaf riddled with large holes, and named it ciabatta, the Italian word for slipper, after its shape. The recipe spread so fast that within a decade it was being baked from London to Tokyo. A bread that feels like deep tradition is younger than the personal computer. Brioche. Somewhere between bread and pastry sits brioche, a French loaf enriched with so much butter and egg that it bakes up golden, tender, and almost cake-like. That richness ties it to the most famous misquote in food history. The line, "Let them eat cake," supposedly snapped by Marie Antoinette about her starving subjects, is in the original French, "Let them eat brioche." She almost certainly never said it. The writer Rousseau had already put the phrase in the mouth of an unnamed great princess years earlier, while Marie Antoinette was still a child in Austria. Brioche itself came from the rich dairy country of Normandy, where good butter was never in short supply. Bao. Across much of China, bread is not baked at all but steamed. A bao is a bun of leavened wheat dough cooked over boiling water until it turns soft, white, and cloud-like, with no crust and a faint sweetness. The plain version, mantou, is the everyday bread of northern China, while the filled version, baozi, wraps pork, vegetables, or sweet bean paste inside. The method reflects the kitchen it came from. Traditional Chinese homes rarely had ovens, so the stovetop steamer and the wok did the work that a European hearth did elsewhere. Legend even credits the ancient strategist Zhuge Liang with inventing the stuffed bun as a substitute for a human sacrifice. Steaming leaves the surface pure white and pillowy, and the same dough shows up folded around braised pork belly in the guabao sold on streets across Taiwan. Soda bread. Not all bread waits for yeast. Irish soda bread rises in minutes through a simple chemical reaction. When baking soda meets the acid in buttermilk and releases bubbles of carbon dioxide straight into the dough. There is no proofing, no long kneading, and no fermentation. The style took hold in 19th century Ireland, where baking soda was newly available, and the local soft wheat was poorly suited to yeast bread. A cross is traditionally slashed deep into the top, partly to help the dense loaf bake through and partly, in folklore, to let the fairies out or to bless the bread. It bakes in well under an hour, which made it the bread of households without ovens or time to spare. Traditional Irish soda bread carries no sugar, raisins, or caraway, the additions that turn it into the sweeter loaf many other countries now sell under the same name, sliced bread. The soft, square, pre-cut loaf is the most engineered bread of all, and it carries the benchmark every other invention gets measured against. In 1928, an American named Otto Rohwedder built the first machine that could slice and wrap a whole loaf, and bread was never sold the same way again, giving the language the phrase "the greatest thing since sliced bread." The loaf itself was reinvented in 1961 when British scientists devised the Chorleywood process, which uses violent high-speed mixing, extra yeast, added fats, and enzymes to rush a loaf from flour to packaging in around 3.5 hours. It made bread cheap, soft, and uniform, and it still produces most of the sliced bread sold in Britain and much of the industrial bread elsewhere, a world away from a sourdough starter fed by hand for 100 years. From a dough lifted by wild microbes 4,000 years ago, to a loaf machines turn out in a few hours, every bread is just flour and water reshaped by heat, time, and whatever makes it rise. Geography, fermentation, and a handful of inventions decide what ends up on the table. Let us know in the comments which one we should go deep on next.